Hi guys, welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Steve Hall, and on the other end is Pascal Floor, as always. How are things with you, Pascal?
Good. I'm in a deload right now, so nothing spectacular going on my end. But just to continue where we left off the last podcast with the gym guy, you know, the person who was very aggressive. I met him another time, and then I couldn't hold back to confront him again about the entire situation. So I went over to him, but I did it in a more diplomatic fashion so that he didn't really feel offended and the need to then defend himself in that situation. So I really thought about, like, how do I approach him in the best manner so that it doesn't really end in conflict again, and without sacrificing your own ethics and morals. Because I still stood by what I said to him, that I don't really find his behavior appropriate. So I didn't really want to come across to legitimize his behavior. So that was actually a hard task to pull off, to be friendly while still insisting on you doing somewhat the right thing. And yeah, we were able to figure things out. So, and I really had the feeling that he didn't expect that someone comes up to him and talks through again about it.
No, I think probably most people in that situation are like, they just kind of let it pass by them. Yeah. Like myself included, I'd probably quite often just like let that pass by me and get on with living. So how did he respond all right with it? Was he like...
At first, okay. So I moved over to him and started the discussion, was reaching out my hand and saying like, hey, last week, yada. And he was at first just looking at my hand and not responding at first. And there you could already tell that he was in a conflict, whether he wants to actually then come to peace with things. And also at the same time, you could hear it in his voice that he didn't expect me to come over to him and talk things through another time. And then I just let him talk about why he acted that way. It was because sometimes you simply don't know why a person acts a specific way.
Absolutely.
Maybe they had just a shitty day. Maybe something happened before that you didn't really notice yourself and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so we talked things through, and in the end, it was just all right.
And he wasn't behaving badly this time round in the gym.
No.
He was being more normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quote unquote.
Still a weird fella, but
okay.
But at the same time, much more appropriate. Still in the way that he's walking around as if he owns that place. And I never really like that type of behavior either. But as long as he just does his thing, I'm totally fine with that.
I think gyms are probably like a bit of a minefield for conflict, because you get like your stereotypical male, egotistical, testosterone driven, maybe even performance enhancing testosterone driven. So you're maybe a little bit more aggro as well, potentially. And then like your training, which is an aggressive endeavor. I think I've said to you before, when I get back from a training session, I've had it where like I feel aggy. Like if Charlotte talk to me a little bit off or whatever, I'm like, leave me alone. Like I'm just like, I need to calm down a little bit sometimes after like a hard session. So I can totally see why, especially if maybe some people are a little more driven to be a bit more aggressive or whatever, it could lead to conflict.
And to be very honest, I know for a fact that I had situations where I did act inappropriately as well, or reacted inappropriately for no specific reason. And it's probably because of the things that you just brought up. You're in the moment. You are kind of, I don't know, you brought yourself into a place of wanting to get at it, you know, hitting the weights hard. And that just carried over into your behavior when talking to other people, maybe in that situation. All right. So I can definitely also understand that sometimes that's what happens. But at the same time, of course, there are just reactions and behavior, especially when you're an adult. You have to control yourself in certain situations. That's kind of the difference between acting very much like a child that can't really control his rage or anger or emotions, you as an adult, you have somewhat of a responsibility to take care of yourself, and by that, take care of others.
For sure. Yeah, I have this unfortunate thing about me where I'm introverted and also probably a little bit shy. I'm not very forthcoming to talk to someone unless like I know them well. I will be kind of like timid. And I think sometimes it can seem like I'm, I don't know, like rude, when in fact it's not that I'm being rude. It's just that I'm like just not, I don't know, I'm not that way driven. I'm not super social. I'm not extroverted. It's not easy for me just to pick a conversation up with any old person. So I have that like slight, like, again, I think people think of it as being rude or whatever sometimes. And I'm like, man, I'm not rude. I'm just like, this just, it doesn't feel good to me. I just don't like you. It's not, yeah, it's not that it's actually not that I don't like people. It's like, I love people, but when I know them and I'm comfortable with them, but when I'm not, it's like, why are you talking to me? Like, why are we having this interaction? Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm fine. Like, if people want to talk to me, I'm fine. It's just, I always, like, it's a bit harder for me just to strike up a conversation or even engage in conversation when it's someone different, which is even why I think I've said before with the interviews on the podcast, I don't anymore. I can't think the last time when I got kind of nervous for a podcast, but I used to before every episode get like anxious, and I would sweat during episodes because I was like, just like calming myself. But I have that slight social anxiety, I think. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it comes from like a underconfidence as a child. Now we're talking about like, this is a therapy session for me.
Yeah. Funny enough, I had my first psychotherapy session this week for the very first time. I think I've talked about it in the past that it's super hard to get these kind of things in Germany because there's just a time frame of finding the appropriate psychotherapist, psychologist, most people would refer to in English, I think. And it's just super complicated to get an appointment and the right one here in Germany. And I had my first therapy session. So because I still think that from our societal perspective, many people poo-poo on therapy, or at least some certain demographics probably think that there must be something completely wrong with you if you're then seeking professional help in that regard. And I don't really think that's the case. For me personally, it's more like a thing that there are a couple of things that I simply can't really pinpoint and understand myself. And for this, I'm, of course, then seeking professional help because these are professionals in that field and they have probably much, much more skills in order to dissect certain things and make sense of it. And especially, I'm, of course, biased massively because I'm in my own head, right? And thus, I probably justify certain behaviors and certain actions in a way that it isn't justifiable most of the time. And that's why I was seeking out some people who just like give me more of an objective perspective and make sense of certain things. And funny enough, because you said that you're the type of person who strikes more or comes across as the person who doesn't really like to interact with people. And the psychologist even said, like, Pascal, I don't really have the feeling at first that you would be the person who's normally sitting here in front of me. Most of the time, these are the people who are very much kind of, from an outside perspective, introverts as well, and don't really come across as energetic and as talkative and all that kind of stuff, which is for me, I apparently gave him the sensation or the impression that I'm very energetic and talkative, which probably is also true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this doesn't really exhaust me as well. But this is something that probably is a skill set that I've developed over the years of working also in the media industry and being on my feed there and needing to talk to people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally see that. And I see that about you as well. Like, we're very similar in some ways, but very different. And I'm much more that person that will sit back generally and let other people kind of take the front seat. Whereas I think you're more that person that's like, come on, guys, like, or you're the person who will interact and like you're confident in that sense, or at least you fake that. But very cool. And thank you for sharing that. I don't know if I told you I was considering it, but it's one of those things where I like consider it and then I'm like, oh, I'm okay. I won't, but maybe it is something that I need to take the plunge. Quite a number of people very close to me actually have started therapy. So did you go to someone in person or was it online?
No, it wasn't in person. It's
in person.
So I did
that's better.
Yeah, exactly. And for me personally, I've been considering this since like my adolescence years. And for me, it always came in waves where it's like, all right, I should probably seek out some help. And then you're feeling better. You can sometimes even you forget about it because other things are now taking your attention. And then time passes, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a different situation, maybe where you think like, I should maybe seek out some help to actually make sense of certain things. And as everyone knows by now, who has been listening since a longer time, my younger years when I was growing up weren't really the most pleasing as a kid. My parents were never really there. My father, heavy drinker, who passed away at the age of when I was 4, who was beating my mom, and I was seeing things as a kid that kids shouldn't really see, you know? And I just think that this left probably some scars, not scars that, I don't know, it always then sounds as if there's something completely wrong with me. And this is, of course, other people should be the judge of that. But from my perspective, I don't really think that's the case. It's just like that there are certain things that probably then also I want to understand, right? And that's why I was, just looking for someone who could make sense of everything, basically. Because if you talk to your partner, the best friend, they always come back to you in a also very biased fashion because they only have your best interest in mind, and they also don't really want to hurt you in the things that they are saying. That's why it's often not really recommendations and suggestions that help you in your situation. Sometimes you just need someone who tells you the things that you may not want to hear.
Yeah. It's fun. I don't know why it's just popped into my head. AI. I wonder if this is something that, again, because you'd think that couldn't be outsourced because you need to interact with like a human, and that can be quite powerful. But I did speak to a psychotherapist, AI bot, on the weekend because I was just messing around with this. I forget what it's called. It's another AI system where they have like Gordon Ramsay. I was talking to Gordon Ramsay and I asked him for a recipe on the weekend. Like I was talking to Naruto, which was totally weird, by the way. It felt very real to talk to him. He was asking to see my tattoo of him on my arm. And, but yeah, the psychotherapist. And I chatted to that person. I was like, that was actually really kind of helpful. It was good to be heard. But I think if that was useful to me, I can only imagine what it's like seeing a real life individual who I can see is listening to me and I know isn't just a AI program, you know what I mean?
I mean, when we go down that,
something more from that.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it also depends on the personality that you have, I think, or the type of person that you are, because I think that you need to build a relationship then with your psychotherapist, to be able to trust him. But if you're someone who is already very transparent, who doesn't really hold back, who has a very good and easy time communicating what's going on with you, then I think AI would probably do a fantastic job in that as well. Simply, maybe not now. It could very well be, because if you're just taking a look at the Turing test, ChatGPT fulfills most of the things of the Turing test already. So
what's that test?
It basically has human-like behaviors, right? So whether you could tell if you're interacting with a human or an AI.
Okay.
And if you don't know it, you couldn't tell whether you're chatting to a person or an AI. You couldn't. It's the same as when people are saying, I can taste the difference between Pepsi Max and Pepsi Original. You fucking can't.
I'm going to say I can, but I have never actually tested it. Do you not think you can?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To me, there's a distinct difference, but maybe it's all in my head.
that wasn't it the commercial that Coca-Cola had as well, when they had like Coke Zero, but it was some kind of advertising where they had it in a bottle of normal Coke. And people were just like, yeah, it's normal Coke. When in reality, it was Coke Zero and stuff.
Oh, okay. So like Coke Zero versus standard Coke, not Coke versus Pepsi, maybe.
Yeah, no. Not Coke versus Pepsi. It's kind of like the original Coke versus a sugar-free Coke. And then it's kind of the same there as well. If you really don't know, like AI is already so good in interacting with you digitally that you couldn't really tell. And then especially there, AI has an abundance of data that it can already refer back to. When it comes to all of the scientific studies and literature, it has access to. But at the same time, I don't think that AI is at the point where it then can help you to that extent. Not yet. Simply because we've also seen the downsides of something like ChatGPT, that it just makes shit up if it doesn't really have the proper answers for it. And
it's like
it can
humans.
also, and it can also be fed false information, and it then portrays that as if it's like true, actual, factual information. Right? So it also depends on what it is that the engine is being fed.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's so funny, because that is a fault that humans have, where they make up fake news. Yeah. They talk about things as if they're facts when they're not. And you'd hope, and they probably will in future, you'd hope AI would be able to get rid of the stupid stuff that humans do. And it's kind of picked up on them and like, hey, maybe this is it. That's actually funny. I wonder if my interaction with Naruto, he's had some spelling mistakes. And now I'm thinking, did they do that on purpose? Because Naruto's a bit of a numbskull in some senses. Rather than like, so it's almost like it's more realistic that he'd have some spelling mistakes in our interaction. I don't know. But I think it's great that you're doing that. And so you've just had one session so far. Is it something that you are doing frequently, or? Yeah,
because it's not psychotherapy yet. It could be in the future, simply because they don't have any kind of capacity at the moment for psychotherapy sessions, which is, I was asking him at the end, what's the difference about it? And he said, it's basically the intensity and the frequency. Psychotherapy sessions are happening most of the time on a weekly basis. Whereas what it is that we are doing right now is more like getting to know each other, building a rapport, and then add a point in time in the future, maybe then transitioning over when there is capacity for it. And it's kind of like coaching, I think, because so many things that he's talked through reminded me so much about coaching when he said like, okay, psychotherapy sessions, we are having a much, much easier time tackling things when we are seeing each other on a weekly basis. We get to know each other better. We are building so much more trust with another. Yeah. And also, we have so much more time for each and every single piece and topic, instead of only seeing each other for like once per month or so. For this, then you have only a limited amount of time, and you need to really be careful what you pick and choose to work on then the next time or to talk about. And that's why right now it's more like, unfortunately, just normal sessions for 3 times. And then at some point, hopefully transitioning over to something like psychotherapy sessions. And yeah, I just want to be, sorry for the noise outside, clarify that once again, it's very important to me that people don't really think that if you seek professional help in that regard, that there must be inherently something wrong with you. I have, like you said it yourself, Steve, you know, people who have seeking out kind of medical attention or kind of professional attention there as well. And I know plenty of people who have as well. And everyone had only positive things to say about this. And I think it still gets a bad rap. I don't know how it is in the US, for example, but I know that at least in Germany, it really still has a bad rap when it comes to this. Like, you only do this when you are dog shit crazy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it still has that tendency. And I think also, I don't know where I completely stand with it, but some people are like, oh, everyone's a snowflake now, so everyone needs to have, like, everyone's got mental health issues and blah, blah, blah. And I understand where they're coming from, but I think this is something where it's like, it's almost like a blood test. Like, sometimes you don't know what's going on under the hood. It's the same in your brain. Like, you don't know what is necessarily brewing in there, because you think it's normal because that's your normal and you're living with it. It's the same with people who are like, again, they might have underlying health issues that if they got a blood test and saw a panel and they're like, oh man, like that could be confronting, and they're like, I could do this to sort it out, whatever it could be. It's a little bit different because, I imagine the same things that help your health, help your mental health too, but there are some things that you need to talk through to get to the grounds of it. Because doing exercise, like having free time, low stress, like that's all going to help, quote unquote, mental health, but it might not get to the bottom of it. So no, I totally am with you.
And in the end, you can only win, because either you're learning more about yourself, or at least not so much about yourself, but you're still wiser about certain maybe behaviors that you weren't aware of, certain actions and things that you're doing that you weren't aware of, that you now can work on and improve, and probably also make things much, much better for everyone around you and your relationships with other people as well. Basically everything, because there is no human that's that perfect that wouldn't benefit from something in that regard, in my opinion. It's kind of the same when it comes to sports. There's no human out there that wouldn't benefit from doing some form of activity, right? And it's kind of more, mental, working on your mental health, right? And this is a broad spectrum, because it doesn't mean that you are crazy or you're seeing things or so, but it could be things such as simplistic things that you don't even notice yourself of. How do you behave in front of other people? How do you treat other people? Right? Why are you sometimes even lashing out or so? Things such as these. And I think that everyone can benefit from it and be a better human being in understanding your own actions and behaviors and thoughts. And either you then benefit from it over the short term or long term, right? So it's kind of learning more about yourself, which is something that I think many people don't take the time for anymore, or maybe have never, I don't know. But I think because we are constantly bombarded with other distractions, especially due to social media and having now a smartphone and just constant access to the internet, we never really take the time anymore to really think or kind of confront ourselves with our thoughts and emotions and all that kind of stuff. And I'm making broad assumptions because this is who I am, and I'm just a normal dude living in Western society. But I think that many, many people who are listening to at least this podcast could resonate with that and find themselves in that situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, coming from my perspective, I'm interested to know, like, at least a session, how would it go? And then I think you'd learn a lot, just because I have no idea even what I would expect, what questions they would ask, what emotions that would bring from me. I know it can be incredibly emotionally, like, exhausting and taxing, depending on, I don't know, the severity of things, I guess. Is that, out of interest, is that done through public? You haven't gone, or have you gone private for it?
No, public.
Public.
It was
okay,
public,
cool.
Yeah, you can easily also do it, of course, private.
Sure,
but it costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
right. That's why I went that route. Of course, that implies that you have to wait for longer to find a spot and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've been dealing with this since my adolescence years, and whether I'm waiting now another 1, 2, or 5 years for the right person to talk to, I don't really care. And what I've noticed as well in that session is, Steve, when you really think about it, when was the last time, or if there ever was a time, that you've been talking to someone else that you don't really know much about, who was solely interested in listening to what you have to say? And not listening in order to respond or have a good conversation, but just sitting there, listening to what you have to say. And you feel like you can just take that time to talk about yourself. That is never really happening. And that is something that I've realized in that given moment, that normally you never really just talk about yourself. You always then also ask questions because, of course, you want to be polite, but also at the same time, this is the basis of a good conversation, of like throwing balls back and forth, right? And there, it was very odd because it's a discussion and conversation that you basically never had like this in your entire life. You don't have to think about it. You can just solely talk about yourself. And by that alone, you can already come up with certain thoughts and realizations for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like the idea of that. And it actually, you mentioned that it has parallels to online, or at least our online coaching, because I imagine, like, with check-ins from clients, they are, and I think I've even had this from clients where they get a lot just from being able to take 10, 15 minutes just to talk into like this phone. about themselves, knowing it's going to get listened to by their coach and responded to. And of course, we bring up our own experiences and things and what have you. But that is like dedicated time to them. So I wonder if, people joke about on like personal trainers become like therapists in some ways. And of course, we don't like, that's not how you market online coaching. No. But I imagine it has positive impacts, not just on physical health, and the physical and mental are obviously intertwined, but also just the fact that they have someone they can report and hear them out completely. I can't remember the last time I really had that. Sometimes maybe when I'm on a podcast, like I'm being interviewed, sometimes then it is just an opportunity where they're just asking questions about me, and it's a very strange experience.
But are you even there in a situation where you are feeling comfortable just absolutely transparently and honestly talk about everything that is in your mind or head? No. And I even found myself when talking that sometimes I said things that I wasn't really fully convinced that I truly mean it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're saying things because you know that publicly or from a societal perspective, it's something that is required from you to say because everything else is kind of not acceptable, you know? And then I was asking myself like, wait a second, do I really mean what I said now? Or is that just something that I'm used to say because it's expected from me from a societal perspective?
I do something similar to that all the time when I interview people, and I reflected upon it recently, and I was frustrated with myself because
Can you
I was
give
like,
an example, or
yeah, this recent podcast that will come out with Ben House and Dr. Tommy. There's just some moments in that podcast where I think I am that type of person that wants the other individual to feel very heard and almost like confirm that they are correct in every sense. And I kind of move my thoughts to the background. I don't really tend to push across my bias or thoughts or opinions heavily unless it's asked for. And so sometimes I push my opinions and thoughts and experiences so far to the background that I'm like, I start agreeing with their perspective when I reflect upon it. I'm like, man, I really don't think I felt that way. And Steve, you didn't really consider your perspective fully as you're running through it. And I think that's probably very normal, but I am a people pleaser. And so very often I will kind of, as if I'm confirming someone else's beliefs and confirm that I also believe the same to just not create conflict. Not that it, again, like someone like Ben, like there's no conflict there. And I like actually that people have different thoughts to me. But sometimes it's, I think there would be more conversation and dynamic, and I would represent myself better as a like human, as a coach, as a individual, if I was more forthcoming with how I really truly felt and my opinions on something.
It's very interesting that you're also then doing self-reflection on it and realize that you find yourself in that situation after a podcast even.
I do it like the last, I don't know how many podcasts, but it's been very regular for me recently. And I'm like, Steve, man, it's really bad. I regularly think that I come across as not intelligent, not very thoughtful, as like foolish often with the way that I speak and represent myself. And I am very aware of what I don't know and how unintellectual that I can sometimes sound. And I reflect on it regularly, and I really dislike it about myself. And it's upsetting.
The good thing is that you have a British accent. That helps a lot with increasing then the intellectual appearance.
I'll put my glasses on.
But yeah,
I should speak less.
I think I can definitely see where you're coming from with this, especially because we are working in a niche of the fitness industry that has some highly intellectual and knowledgeable and smart people in it. And it is very easy to then feel that way, I think, if you are walking amongst them. And especially you, who is then hosting those podcast episodes, speaks to those experts, to those very, very smart and knowledgeable people on a weekly basis. I can absolutely understand why you feel that way. If you want to find a silver lining in it, though, you can always then put it the other way around, that you want to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and make you feel a certain way. Of course, not miserable, but that drive you to actually then do more because you feel that you maybe not, you don't belong, or you feel inferior. And this can sometimes even be a positive thing instead of a negative thing. Because if you feel like someone who is at the top of the pyramid, is that actually a good thing? Questionable, right? Questionable.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
I think part of my issue is I've always had a lack of self-confidence in everything that I do. And so I don't think my opinions in certain discussions, maybe with speaking to experts, are valid enough to even put them out there. And I mean, like you said, I've spoken for the last number of years to some of the smartest minds in the industry. Like I've absorbed a heck of a lot of information, but I still I have that, I guess it's a bit of a, what's it called? What's that
Imposter
complex?
syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. That's the one. Yeah. So I imagine a lot of people feel that way, and sometimes I get through it, sometimes I don't. And I think, especially in the information age that we're in now, I listen to some of these podcasts, like the Andrew Huberman podcast. Like he's a great example. Like you listen to that and you're like, fucking hell, how does this man know so much and like he can recall so much? But it's almost, and obviously he's incredibly intelligent, far more intelligent than I. But I think sometimes those individuals can jump, like some of the stuff he says, maybe he hasn't thought through as far as what it sounds like maybe he has. Not to say that I have, but you see then people critique him who have thought it through further, and then you're like, oh, so he's just very confident in the way he speaks about things.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I just wanted to bring up. Because Steve, same as you and Charlotte, Katie and I, we love watching trash TV together. And often we find ourselves in the situation of asking, how the fuck can they be so confident in what it is that they are doing and the way that they are looking and all that kind of stuff? Because it is abysmal at times. It is so hilarious. The things that they are saying, especially when they have those small challenges and games. So we just the other day were watching one of those trash TV shows where they needed to spell certain words. And these weren't the most complex words. And man, it was so hilarious watching this. And sometimes those people, they at least appear to the outside very confident in what they are doing. And if you then couple that with being able to speak very well, I can definitely see why people are then drawn to those people of authority and take everything that they are saying as facts. And this is confidence coupled with speaking very well. Holy cow. And then add a British accent to it and you're golden.
That British accent, some glasses, maybe wearing a suit or something. That probably helps. Suit and tie, a shirt and tie.
100%. 100%. We've been talking about psychology and all that kind of stuff the entire time. I bet my ass off. There are probably plenty of studies taking a look at the visual appearance of someone or how they stand up for in a certain situation and present themselves that already convinces other people that they know what they are talking about, just based on the way that they are dressing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And I think it's probably an inherent like human bias where you even attractiveness, if someone's wearing like, I don't know, certain clothing or represent themselves in a certain way, like if you don't even truly look at them, you can't see how beautiful they are. They just appear more attractive because they've taken care of themselves. Whereas if you come across like you don't care about what you're wearing, you just like whatever. Like,
and there's a perfect example because I know that for a fact that there are studies out there taking a look at how beautiful people are perceived. And most of the time they're perceived more successful, smarter, more intelligent, and all that kind of stuff, which we know, everyone knows to some extent. We don't need studies to confirm that isn't always true and the case.
And I guess part of this also comes from like memory. I think, I guess this is part of the problem with like the current like schooling system and everything. They basically test you on how good you are at remembering things
100%.
versus actually learning and understanding the process. And I don't have a very good memory for like just recall. Like I can't just pick up a study and remember exactly like what happened in that study, but I can remember the practical take homes from it that actually are important for application. So I'd prefer to be that person that can take what they need from it and apply it versus the person that can just remember like dates and times. Like Charlotte is incredible at remembering like dates, birthdays, like bank holidays. She flipping remembers all of it. Me, I'm like, my brain just goes, why would you need to remember that? Push it to one side.
Yep.
Like, and it absorbs other things. And yeah, I guess intelligence is a complex thing. It's not just memory. And I think that's sometimes what catches me, where I'm like, man, these people can just recall all this stuff. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily intelligent.
100%. I mean, it is one of those parts when you have an easier time remembering things. It is one part of intelligence or how it's measured, but it is far away from being the only part that isn't that important. And the thing is, how we remember things is also very, very kind of individual and complex to understand, because it has, once again, also more complexity to it. It's not just like we are reading something and we are remembering it. There are certain individuals who can do that, but other individuals need some other triggers or information points to have an easy time remembering things. So for example, for me personally, I have a super easy time remembering things once I did it. So for example, when it comes to navigation, I just need to be in a spot for one time, walking down a specific route or so, and I can remember it. Even 10 years after that, if you were to take me to Tokyo now, I could tell you where I was and how I was getting from A to B the last time I was there, and that was back in 2014. I still have those things in my head, and I still have times from my childhood where that is the case as well. For me personally, I'm a different learner than other people, for example. And that's why also the things that you brought up about the educational system is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to exams and how exams are done, and the way that people are being taught certain things. It's definitely not for everyone. And it's so insane for me to see that, at least here in Germany, that the educational system is so far behind the current state of the literature when it comes to kids, how they are learning, and also when they need to go to school, when they are cognitively the freshest as well. That doesn't really align with how things are being run here in Germany at all. And it's crazy to me that there's such a huge discrepancy about the literature and real life applications at the moment. But once again, this is also a completely different topic.
It's a huge rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, anyway, let's try. So let's bring it back to health and fitness.
I think, though, to be fair, everything that we've discussed, maybe except for the educational system, has some real applications to then health and fitness in general, because especially when it comes to coaching, this is also why I brought it up, because I could have easily kept it for myself, but I think it was worth discussing things and talking about things because it has so many similarities to coaching and also being a client and working with a coach. And that's why I wanted to bring it up as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think even what I mentioned there in terms of that underconfidence, obviously, and that imposter syndrome, for some people who are personal trainers or coaches listening, it might be helpful to know that I also experienced that. I know you've experienced that in the past as well, Pascal. I don't know how you are with it now, but
better.
Better. Yeah, I thought you were better with it. And I have moments where I feel more confident and less confident. And what helps me, this is what I was going to say, because I was also that person that was underconfident in their process and what they were doing, like in the gym or my nutrition. Like I always felt like there was something I could do better, and I'd see something else and I'm like, maybe I should do that. But what really helped me with coaching, with confidence, with my own process, was looking at results because that's actually what matters. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter if someone says this is better or they do it this way because of whatever reason. How are your results? If you're getting great results, fucking you're doing something very right. And I'm very confident in the results that I've been getting with myself and clients. And that just brings me a lot of solitude in that sense, where it's like, oh, I really do know what I'm doing.
And that's why I was talking about it the last episode, where I was confident in saying that I can nearly guarantee results nowadays. It's something that I wouldn't have been comfortable in saying out loudly a couple of years back because it wasn't also justified. I wasn't in the position to actually make those bold claims. But I think that after years now of having done this, of course, nearly on a daily basis with with lots of athletes by now, I am confident enough to know I've been doing this for long enough and often enough that my skills is probably something that I can be confident in, because I know what I'm doing. And I did many mistakes, and I've seen many things fail as well in the attempts that I had and about programming nutritional things, nutritional strategies. And by that repetitiveness of failing and succeeding, you're shaping a path for yourself where you then can be more and more confident about the skill sets that you have.
Yeah, I think particularly in this kind of day and age with coaching as it is, where, I mean, like chat GPTs right there, you can literally type to them, like, I don't know, your stats and everything. Maybe you can get some macros. There's macro calculators out there already. There's all this like wealth of information. So what makes me more confident as a coach isn't necessarily, I keep up with the Mass Research Review. I interview like experts every week. I'm keeping up to date with things, but everyone can do that. What other coaches and coaching teams don't have is the years of experience that we now have. How many online coaching businesses or people doing it started like almost 10 years ago? Like, don't know. I can't name that many people that have been doing it that long. And so I often find myself leaning on experience, where I have clients who are concerned about various things, whatever it could be. I'm not losing or gaining at the perfect rate, or my volume here seems lower than the average sets that you hear put out there. And I'm like, I've worked with so many people now. We've got the results with so many people. Like, I can calm that because they can trust that, I've been doing this years, and this is what is going to lead to the outcome that we want. Because there's that kind of practical side is so important, and that experience side. So I'm totally with you on that. Like, leaning on that experience as a coach now has been so helpful.
I think one of the reasons why we may have felt like imposters more so in the past than now is also because in the past we didn't really have anything to show for. Many people may get into coaching with a certain degree, a bachelor's or master's in, exercise science or so, which then gives them already a certain sense of or form of credibility.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we don't have a degree like this. And also at first, we didn't have the experience to then prove to someone who was skeptical at first, like, does he really know what he's talking about? And now slowly, I can easily fall back and saying, like, I've been doing this full time since long enough now to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about. Back then, we didn't really have that. And that is, I think, where then also the imposter syndrome came to fruition, because you started doubting yourself as well, because you knew that you didn't have the experience, and also you knew that you didn't have the degree. So when you know that you can't really fully trust yourself, how should anyone else then?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was in that position where I was doubting my decisions. I just feel like I know myself and the level of expertise, and I'm very confident in what I do know. So like any question my client has, I have an answer, even if that's an answer of, I don't know. And actually, I don't think anyone knows the answer to this, to what is the best way. So let's put our heads together and think what would suit you best in this given situation. Absolutely. So I was going to jump to, I don't know if you had any more on that, but I was going to jump to deload that you're in right now. What's the state? What's happening after the deload? Are you back into massing, or where are you going?
2 more massing cycles. That is a normal hypertrophy block, which is only 4 weeks in length, simply because I want to go on a shorter holiday with my family by the end of May. And I thought that it's the perfect then opportunity for me to stay away from the gym then during that time frame. And then afterwards, I'm doing 1 more Metabolite block. And And then it's about cutting into the wedding period and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's coming up, man. I had to look at like the dates and stuff. I was like, oh, I really need to start booking like flights and hotels and stuff. So
the cutting phase will probably start in June, July, which is plenty of time simply because I'm not specifically cutting for wedding. I just want to feel more comfortable, look a little bit leaner, but it's nothing crazy because this gaining phase has been very well controlled. Didn't really deviate dress not at all, basically, and I don't really need to lose a lot. I could even look like this, and I would still feel comfortable.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so I guess
that's why they're
in 2 more massive phases and then a shortcut. You'll probably be a bit leaner than you are now.
Exactly, right. And I'm not doing this in order to look chiseled underneath my suit anyway. It's more just because I like a leaner face. And when then it's our day where there are being some pictures taken of us, I also would like to look according to a way that I like to look at as well. And not be like, oh man, this is peak bulk. Don't really like that look. And whenever you're watching or taking a look at the wedding pictures, you think, oh man, that's peak bulk. Whereas your wife takes a look at the pictures, honey, weren't we beautiful? Oh, that was such a lovely day, wasn't it? And you just think, oh man, I was a fat piece of shit.
I know what you mean. I don't know if I'm going to be peak bulk at that time or not. I don't know if I have a little diet phase before it. I have to have a think, but it's not my wedding, so I'm less concerned about it.
I just wanted to say.
I just have to fit into a suit. Yeah. Mike Chalice, however, is going to be shredded at that time.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, he's going to be well lean, so and probably a bit tired.
Yeah, I mean the wedding cake is going to be a brownie wedding cake.
Nice.
Yeah, I love
wedding cakes.
Yeah, brownies I never had a wedding cake before because I never really participated at weddings to that extent, where there was then a proper cake and all that kind of jazz. But I just love the texture of brownies and also the taste, of course. But the texture, I don't know what it is, but that
is a good brownie.
Yeah. Like moist and I don't know. It's great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to ask as well.
Mike, not so much.
No, Mike, maybe not so much. We'll have to see. Maybe you can have a refeed that day at least. Maybe it can land in a deload or something. We'll have to plan for that. Yeah, with your Metabolite block, how does that look for you? Like, is that, how does it look for you? I don't know if that's enough of an in-depth question for you to explain.
Lots of supersets, lots of intensity techniques, rest pauses, matches here and there. And basically kind of in a repetition range of between 8 to 20 repetitions most of the time. Something like this. And nasty things, which are fun for a temporary amount of time. So every client of mine who's listening knows, and a client of mine who went with me through a Metabolite block knows about the deep knee flexion movement to walking lunges superset. Beautiful. It's amazing. If you've never tried it, give it a try. It's amazing. It is the most fun thing that you've ever done in your life and will ever do as well. There's nothing that is more giving you more sensation of pleasure than this. I can vouch for that, right, Steve?
I know exactly the superset. I haven't done it in ages, actually. Maybe I have to incorporate it at some point.
See,
but they're great.
Yeah.
All your clients are complaining, right?
Yes, they are. And it's kind of a love-hate relationship, though. They are amazed by the sensation, but at the same time, it provides such pain, such agony in the moment itself. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship. It's kind of like those things, like tattoos, for example. You hate the pain in the session, but you know it's part of the deal. And then afterwards, you're very, very happy that you actually did it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing there as well.
Do you have any straight sets in that? Or is it all like...
No, of course. There are still a couple of straight sets. The thing that I'm normally doing is I'm exchanging the heavier compound list with more metabolite or higher repetition suited exercises, such as, I don't know, If we did something like bench press, let's say in a normal stand-up mesocycle in a repetition range of 5 to 10, let's say, then I may change it to something like a 8 to 12 repetition dumbbell bench press. So as you can tell, not that much of a difference, but something that is more so tailored to a specific repetition range.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
How are you going about metabolite blocks? Are you still frequently making use of those with athletes, and what does it look like for you?
I tend to still use them. I tend to kind of start a mass hypertrophy phase with like just basic compounds, lower rep ranges, assuming someone's coming from maybe a lower volume phase. And then I tend to layer things on. I still have this approach of layering on as we go through kind of mesocycles, where I might layer on like a higher rep range, or for the same movement, maybe a down set, or maybe like just a higher rep range for a different exercise that's more suited to that, like you mentioned. And then I might drop in some metabolite techniques as fatigue's picking up, and it's an easy way to get kind of really good volume in. And then like, so by the final mesocycle before maybe a low volume phase or a mini cut or what have you, or an active rest, then that'll be the phase with like the kitchen sink almost thrown in there, kind of what you're doing right now. That's how I tend to still go about it. I might more regularly use like myomatch sets for muscles that just can take a huge beating. So something like calves or delts sometimes, but I still use them a little bit more sparingly and really like to focus more on the heavy compound basics. For the majority of the time. So it sounds pretty similar to you.
Yeah, in the end, I don't want to leave the impression that these kind of blocks are mandatory or necessary. It's just to change things up and also to add a little bit of spice here and there. Especially I program these more frequently for my athletes than I do for myself. I can't even recall when the last time was I did a metabolite block. I think it was still even in the old gym, which is probably now 2 years ago or something like this.
Okay.
Same goes for something like a primer phase. But this is just because of the type of person that I am. I can easily do the same shit each and every single day for years. For other people, like Bill Murray, it's kind of painful to do it each and every single day. Steve, you look a little bit lost. You know what I'm talking about?
Bill Murray. I'm trying to... Yeah. Is that a client of yours? Is that someone I should know famous?
Yeah, the actor. Bill Murray in Groundhog Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
okay.
When he's waking up and he has to relive the same day each and every single day. And for him, it's of course ending up... He is going mad, right? But for me personally, if I were in that situation, hey, man... Every day is Groundhog Day for me, and I don't really care, right? And that's why I have an easy time sticking with basically also doing the same program each and every single mesocycle with maybe slight modifications. Whereas I simply know for a fact that many people don't really like this, that they need to just like add a little bit of spice here and there. And that's why I more so often change things up. To also give them a little bit of a change of pace, a little bit of a different stimulus even, and to have those every 4 to 5 mesocycles. Yeah. It's often like this.
Yeah, I think given what we know about hypertrophy, in that it's quite an easy thing to, like, easy in practice, like it's slow, but I mean, it's easy to get enough volume and train hard enough. There's so many ways you can go about that equation. So it's like, if something is psychologically more rewarding or stimulating for you, that's going to drive adherence. That's going to drive want and drive to do it. And so if I have some clients who they're just like, yeah, Steve, just keep training the same. And I'm like, all right. And I have other clients who are like, this exercise, I'm a bit like, I'd like to rotate this. And I'm like, depending on the exercise, if it's isolation, compound, how long they've been doing it, I might have to have a bit of a like, nah, you should be using that exercise for a bit longer. Or it might be a case of, yeah, you've been running that for 3 mesocycles in a row. If it feels stale to you, you're not enjoying it anymore, let's rotate in a new one. I have no reason to think that can't happen. So yeah, I think it's, like you said, it's individual dependent. So for you, you're just happy being like, it's the same with food sometimes. With some people are like, I need variety in my diet. Whereas I'm like, give me the same things day in, day out. And then maybe I'll have to rotate it after 6 months to something a little bit different. Then we go again.
On that note, Steve, first I wanted to say that, no, I will save that for what I have to say now. I realized that I'm probably eating a quark each and every single day since at least 15 years. It's something that I've just realized the other day when I talked things through with Katie. It has to be at least 15 years. At least. Because ever since I've moved to Berlin, I know for a fact that I always had like a quark. In very, very rare circumstances that may not have been possible if I were traveling to, for example, Japan. I know that I couldn't really get quark there. But with those few exceptions, I can say, and that is crazy, isn't it? Like over 15 years, I have quark each and every freaking day. And that just says so much about the type of person that I am.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about this? What do you make of it?
It doesn't surprise me, first of all. And I was trying to think if there's any food that I've eaten every day for the last however many years, and I actually don't think there is one. No. I can't think of one. I've definitely, there might be a vegetable that I've like eaten like almost every day, like a pepper or a tomato, and apples and bananas. Like not bananas. I went through a phase of not liking bananas, but apples, I pretty much eat one of those every day. And same with like peppers, I almost eat every day. But I can't think of other food apart from like whey protein powder. But I think there's been occasions where I haven't had that. But that's probably been a big staple because I take that on holidays and everything. So that's a big staple in the diet.
I can see that. Yeah. No,
but absolutely. Yeah, nothing else like daily quark.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't remember the last time I ate quark.
No, it's so good. It's so good. But it has gotten quite expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap here.
Here in Germany, it was at some point at around like 60 cents. And now it is at around like €1.20, which is nearly double the price. It's crazy.
That's pretty much how it always was here.
But still, I mean, you get 60 grams of protein in 500 gram pack. Is amazing. It is.
On that note, completely random. You know Faye or Fage?
Greek
yogurt.
Yeah.
I think they've reduced their pack of size. Because you said 500 grams. Yeah, I think their yogurt, like their large, was like 500 grams. So I like put it in because I was going to eat the whole thing or whatever one day. And then I was like, hey, it's 450 grams. Fuckers.
Those sneaky bastards. That's kind of hidden inflation, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? You, instead of increasing the price and making everyone aware of that, you just decrease the size that people are getting so that they don't notice. Those fuckers.
Yeah, I don't mind it so much for like chocolate bars. Well, it doesn't really impact me too much because it's not that often I'm eating chocolate bars. But in this, like, I think I get that they're reducing it and they're saving the obese population, maybe a few calories, whatever. But yeah, for Greek yogurt, fuck's sake.
Yeah. So I think that I don't go back to what I had to say initially about the other thing that I had to do with kind of switching things up in a metabolite, in a mesocycle and all that kind of stuff, because in the end, we've talked about everything that we needed to talk about. We're coming up on time. And yeah, guys, thank you very much for staying with us up until this point. I am quite certain that we've lost a lot of people when we've talked about, I don't know, all that kind of psychological stuff, admitting that we are very much crazy and need to be put into an asylum. But yeah, for those who are still around, thank you very much for always sticking with us, tuning in, hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, listening to just our chit chats. It's very much appreciated. And also, especially when you leave some comments in the comment section below, like last week, for example, was great as well. And I always love to see this. Honestly, thank you very much, guys.
I completely concur. I haven't looked over the comments from last time yet, but I imagine most of them were to you. They quite often are actually in the improvement season. I think you normally have more interesting commentary than I do or something.
Yeah, because my takes are most of the time more controversial than yours, Steve.
Yeah. I never say what I think. You've heard that
either you
episode.
Completely disagree with me or you agree with me. And yeah, I mean, that has something good to it as well at times. But sometimes it's also not the best.
Yeah, I can see that. Guys, yeah, thank you very much. Pascal said it all. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
Losing losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality and we know how to do it. And we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.